Luffy and Blackbeard are two sides of the same coin, but did you know they have two models of the same fruit? We already know that Luffy's Devil Fruit's true name is Sun God Nika, but Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi is actually the Hito Hito no Mi model Erebus. Throughout history, there's always been deities for the day and night or good and evil. For example, Sun God Ra is known for being the sun and bringing a new dawn. Greek God Nike was known for victory and peaceful competition. So Sun God Ra plus Greek God Nike creates Sun God Nika in One Piece. But that's just one side of the coin because they have dark counterparts, being Moon God Horus and Greek God Erebus. By the end of this video, you are going to be completely mind blown when you hear the truth behind Blackbeard. So what or who exactly is this Moon God Horus? Well, to answer that, you need to know a little bit about Egyptian mythology. Basically, there's two eyes that represent various aspects of life, one being the Eye of Ra and the other being the Eye of Horus. Now, the Eye of Ra relates to the sun and is known for being evil and destructive, whereas the Eye of Horus relates to the moon and is known as being a good protector. When it comes to Oda, he uses real life inspiration all the time, but he doesn't always clone it or make it one-to-one. One example is Oda being inspired by the legend of Icarus. So in Greek mythology, there was a craftsman named Daedalus who had a son named Icarus, and Icarus died by flying too close to the sun. Oda was inspired by the story of Icarus, but he decided to add his own spin to it. So he created a fishman character named Icarus who had a friend named Daedalus, and Daedalus died by flying too close to the sun. So it's clear that Oda gets inspiration from real life, but he still adds his own spin to it. Moving back to the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, I believe Oda is adding his own twist on this, because instead of having Nika and Luffy follow the evil and destructive personality of the Eye of Ra, they take on the protective and good personality of the Eye of Horus. And instead of having Blackbeard take on the personality of the Eye of Horus, he takes on the evil and destructive personality of the Eye of Ra. What's interesting is the endless symbolism and metaphors Oda uses in One Piece, because he designed this story to have good coexist with evil and have order coexist with chaos. Like, you need yin in order to appreciate yang, and you need yang in order to appreciate yin. Narratively, Luffy needs someone like Blackbeard, and Blackbeard needs someone like Luffy, further emphasizing how they are both an eye to the bigger picture. Recently, we learned that Luffy is equivalent to the sun god Nika, and throughout the entire story, Blackbeard's painted as a complete antithesis to Luffy. So it's an easy deduction to say that if Luffy is the sun god, then Blackbeard must be the moon god. Another crazy theme in One Piece is this whole fetish Oda has with eyes. There's eyes with rings, everyone has a damaged left eye, and even a missing eye on Jaya. I feel like this is another subtle hint behind the symbolism of eyes in One Piece, because you do need two eyes to create the bigger picture. Jaya isn't complete with a missing eye, just like how the Eye of Ra isn't complete without the Eye of Horus. Luffy and his good nature isn't complete without Blackbeard and his bad nature. This is further emphasized by the fact that the Shandorians on the Sky Islands literally worship the sun god. There must have been a moon god that was defeated by sun god Nika, and they are coming back for revenge. And if you think about it, the moon plays a big role in One Piece. You have Professor Clover, who knew of the importance of moons in the One Piece world, you have NL, who is obsessed and even went to the moon, and you even have Minks, who power up at the sight of a full moon. It just might be that the D initial in One Piece can stand for dawn or dusk, and it all depends on your perspective. Because Luffy is one side who wishes to bring the dawn, and Blackbeard is the other side who wishes to engulf the world in the dusk. Could the overall theme of One Piece be about changing the world or leaving it to rot? What is the message that Oda's trying to give the reader? Now that we understand that Luffy is the Eye of Ra and Blackbeard is the Eye of Horus, let's talk about the Greek gods in this equation. I strongly believe that Greek god Nike was the inspiration for sun god Nika, and a god that's related to Greek god Nike is Erebus. But before we jump into that, huge shout out to a friend of mine on Discord named Phoenix, who made an entire infographic about how Blackbeard could be Erebus. I've been seeing this idea jump around a lot since the release of chapter 1044, but Phoenix was definitely the first person I saw bringing it up, so shout out to them. But moving back to the theory, Erebus in Greek mythology is a personification of darkness and one of the primordial deities. The Yami Yami no Mi, Blackbeard, and Erebus are all the embodiment of darkness, which is a calculated theme Oda has been shoving in our face. Erebus having the power of deep darkness and shadow is a direct parallel to Blackbeard's place in the Whitebeard pirate crew. Metaphorically, he hid in the shadows of the famous Whitebeard pirates for many years in hopes he'd find the one devil fruit that matches his personality, because don't forget, throughout the entire story, we see characters possessing devil fruits that go hand in hand with their personality. This becomes more obvious when you consider all of his attacks completely engulf enemies, objects, and powers as a whole. They even identify Erebus as one of the first 5 beings in existence, which could translate to the One Piece world by having the Erebus devil fruit be one of the first devil fruits ever made. Now, upon further research, it turns out that these primordial deities are already in One Piece. For an example, Uranus. Now, we're told that the ancient kingdom birthed 3 weapons of mass destruction, and one of them goes by the name of Uranus. So if something like Uranus is already in the story of One Piece, who's to say that something so closely tied into it isn't in the story as well? If you're enjoying this theory so far, hit the like button. Now, there's actually more shocking details about Erebus too, like the fact that Erebus has a sister named Nyx, and they are the god of night. Now, this is once again lining up with One Piece and Blackbeard because it's evident that Luffy will bring the dawn of the world, whereas Blackbeard wants to put the world in complete darkness. And if you remember earlier how we said that the Eye of Horus represents the moon, this would line up with Blackbeard and Nyx as well. Because in One Piece Magazine Volume 8, Oda drew Ace looking shocked at the sisters of Blackbeard, which to me is pretty crazy because in the canon One Piece manga, we have not seen Blackbeard have any siblings, or at least as of yet. So this might be a scrapped idea for Blackbeard, or Oda decided to add the characteristics of these sisters to Blackbeard himself. So one of those sisters could be the Greek god Nyx that we mentioned earlier, who is the personification of night. Now, another crazy thing about Erebus is, depending on your source, Erebus had a son named Hypnos, who is the personification of sleep. If you remember back to Shanks and Buggy's childhood when they met Blackbeard, they talked about how Blackbeard never sleeps. So if Oda wanted to use that aspect of Hypnos with Blackbeard, this would make sense as he's related to Erebus. Now, just for a quick recap, Sun God Ra plus Greek god Nike is Sun God Nika in One Piece, and Moon God Horus plus Greek god Erebus would be Moon God Erebus in One Piece. You guys probably know how I made a video on why Luffy is based on Hanuman, but that doesn't mean Oda can't be inspired from many different things, because just like Luffy's fist, Oda does not discriminate. Now, I want to actually dive deeper on the whole Sun God, Moon God concept in One Piece, because it does have a lot of implications. At one point, it did cross my mind that Emu could be the Greek moon god Selene, but seeing as there's way more darkness and night connections to Blackbeard, I opted to take the Blackbeard route instead. One thing I do want to point out about this whole sun versus moon thing is we've already seen the precursor in One Piece, which was Ace versus Blackbeard. Now, me and many other people believe that Ace was supposed to be Joy Boy, but it didn't work out, so he was basically a failed Joy Boy. In that battle between Blackbeard and Ace, Blackbeard drops tons of hints to his true nature. For an example, Blackbeard already understands the concept of sun versus darkness, as he said only one will win. Ace having the Mera Mera no Mi and having sun named attacks isn't enough, because it would take the real sun god Nika, aka Luffy, to defeat the moon god, aka darkness, Blackbeard. Now, I actually want to dive deeper on the Yami Yami no Mi because it's definitely not what it seems. For example, you could easily mix this up with the Gomu Gomu no Mi, seeing how they look so similar. So it's possible that Blackbeard or Shanks fought over these fruits and they were confused as to which one is which, but we won't go deeper into that because that's a whole separate theory and discussion. But I do want to point out that since the Yami looks so similar to the Gomu, and the Gomu is the sun god, then I suppose it does make sense that Yami would be the moon god. Yo, I'll be real, if Oda planned this from the very beginning, I'm just completely mind blown, like this guy is a god tier writer. Another interesting fact is that it's stated that the Yami Yami no Mi is unique for a Logia type and is said to be the most evil fruit. I definitely believe that Oda is sneaking this one right by us because we learned in chapter 1044 that Zoan fruits have a will of their own. So if the Yami Yami no Mi was actually a form of the Hito Hito fruit, it would make the fruit a Zoan type, and since Zoan types have a will of their own, it explains why the fruit is so evil. And as far as being called unique, I find it interesting because it definitely has weird properties, kind of like how Luffy's fruit does. The Yami Yami no Mi doesn't seem to be a Logia fruit, and it acts more like a Zoan, which ties in with the possibility of it being the Hito Hito no Mi model Erebus. Another sick concept that crossed my mind is the whole theory that Blackbeard will have 3 devil fruits, one of each type. Now, if we look at Luffy's fruit, you can argue that it's both a Zoan and Paramecia, but if we look at Blackbeard and say that he has the Erebus fruit, then maybe it's just like Luffy and it's dual typed, being Zoan and Logia. With Blackbeard also having the Gura Gura no Mi, which is a Paramecia type, this would mean that Blackbeard technically already has 3 devil fruit types. Now, I know it would be cooler if he had a 3rd devil fruit and it was a Zoan, but I'm just kind of basing this theory off what we know, the evidence, the indications, all that. Regardless, the sun god is going to eventually have a huge battle against the moon god. I believe the light will overpower the darkness this time, but just like Egyptian mythology goes, you need the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus together. Is it possible that we'll see the combination of the sun and moon taking down an evil spirit like Emu? If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I have a video to my side talking about why the Monkey D family is based on Hanuman and Hanuman's family. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace.